guys, this week I'm going to be sharing my scanner and how I'm finding stocks to trade that fit a certain criteria. I'm currently using the TradingView scanner. I do pay for the premium version of TradingView, but you can also access the scanner on the free version as well. I'm possibly going to need to sign up to a scanner called Scans in the future. That's SCANZ, because I think it offers additional features and it's a scanner that my tutor uses. But for now, the TradingView scan is bringing up all the same stocks that my tutor's scan is bringing up. So I'm on the right lines and it's doing what I need to do for the time being. It actually took me quite a bit of time to set up my scanner just because I've never used one before. Even when I've traded stocks previously in the past on the UK stock market, I never actually used to use a scanner. I had different methods of finding stocks to trade. So it definitely took me a bit of time, frustration, and watching YouTube videos and a bit of trial and error, which makes it sound like my scanner is really complicated, which is not. It's just that I haven't never used one before, so it took me some time to figure it out. It's very basic, and I'm sure it will need some adjustments down the line, but for now it's bringing up the stocks that I need it to. So most of the criteria that I use for my scan I've taken from the teachings of Roland Wolf and Tim Grattani, so I'll get into the scan now. So to the scanner, again, excuse the paint in the corner, I'm going to be decorating in the next week or so, that's what that's about. So the scanner, so I've got two scanners. I've got a pre-market scan and a market open scan. So we'll start with the pre-market scan, which what I'll check before the market opens, and I'm basically mainly looking for the biggest movers. Just check this is. Yeah, you have to manually change how much this scan refreshes, so every 10 seconds is the most it will do on TradingView. Obviously I'm filming this on a Sunday, so this data isn't going to change, and this is from Friday's pre-market data. So I'm looking at the US market. The exchanges I'm looking at are the NASDAQ and the NYSE, potentially OTC, but at the moment that market is dead and it has been for a while, so I'm not even putting that on the list. I guess if it ever heats up again, I'll hear about it and I can go back on. Pre-market volume is anything over 50,000, and pre-market percentage change, so anything that is up over 10%. And it's really as simple as that, literally like pretty much 2-3 filters there. So that's up. It's going to bring up all the movers over 10% on that volume, and I'll filter it by the biggest percent movers at the top. So if I just go along the top, I've just got, you can see here the percentage move, you can see the float, which I can also cross-reference with dilution tracker. There is actually a free version, I realise, that you can sign up to, which will give you the float of the company just to make sure this is accurate. I've got the pre-market volume, and I've also included the average 10-day volume. I'm not putting loads of emphasis on this, but sometimes it's handy just to see if it's doing significantly more than it has in the last 10 days. It's just something else just to put on the radar, I guess. And obviously you've got the price of when it closed, and then the industry that it's in. Market cap, I'll actually probably remove that for now, even though it can come in handy. And then just the country here. Okay, so it's bringing up all these results, which is, it's been around about 30 results-ish on average each day, which is a lot, but for me as a beginner, but it is, I can get through those and look at the ones that I need to look at. And I'm not necessarily, definitely not going to be trading all of these, if any of them, but it's just casting a net to pick up anything that could be a potential trade, and then I've got to drill down into them to see which ones might be of interest. So I'm primarily trading stocks that are under $10, which I did have a filter on that originally, but what my brother brought to my attention was that if you have a filter that only brings up stocks under $10, you're going to miss stocks that go from potentially $1 to $15, or even stocks that are $20 that go to, a lot higher, because I need to know about those as they can move other stocks that are under $10. So I kind of need to be aware of all the big movers, no matter what price range they are. I still need to be aware of them. So that's why I've got no price filter on them. And what I'll do is I'll basically go down the list, flag anything in green that is roughly under 10 million float, and anything over 10 million float will go in red, just so I can differentiate the stocks that I will potentially trade and the stocks that I won't. So yeah, I don't know if that's the best way to do it, and I work in admin, so that's probably like my organisational self coming through there. A professional trader might look at that and go, what the hell is she doing with those flags? But it is helping me just to separate things a little bit. So yeah, I'm basically going through them and looking at the biggest percent gainers at the top. So I've got the filter there to sort those. So we're going from biggest percent gainers down to the smallest ones, over 10%. And I'm just sort of scanning them just to see the pre-market volume. The float is good, it's up a high percentage. Let me take a look at the chart, see if it is a potential play for today, or see if it needs to go on my watch list. So this is just kind of an overview. Obviously, I'll be drilling down a bit more into this to see which ones are of interest. But that is basically the settings for my pre-market scan. So when the market opens, I'm going to flip over to the market open scan, which again is going to bring up a lot of the pre-market data which I've already flagged. And then anything new that pops up once market's opened won't be flagged, so I'll be able to see, oh, that's a new one that's come up. Let me have a quick look at it. Is it under or over 10 million float? Can flag it, have a quick look, and just go from there really. So I'll be looking at this during market open and also at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, I want to know if things have finished strong. Then I can put them on my watch list, wait for them to have a big pullback in the coming days and potentially play them for a bounce. So this is something I've got to check throughout the day and then at the end of the day. Again, the filters on this are very similar. I'm looking at the Nasdaq NYSE and change over 10%, and the volume here I've got over 5 million this time. So the other thing I'm probably going to need to start doing as well, which I'm not really looking at yet, is just removing this filter at the end of the day, just so I can also see the biggest losers as well, because that can be quite important, as I've recently come to realise that some of these ones that drop significantly, of those there are companies that have declared bankruptcy, and although that is really terrible news, for some reason those stocks can really bounce in the coming days. So I do need to be aware of the biggest losers, see which ones, if any, have declared bankruptcy, put them on a watch list as well. But at the moment, I'm not really looking at that. I'm just trying to do one thing at a time and just focus on this for the time being. Yeah, so the other thing that the scanner gives me is an idea of how the market is moving. So if there's a lot of big gainers on there, like a lot of over 100% gainers, market's a bit more fiery. If there's not, the market might be quieter. So it's just trying to use the scanner to gauge potentially how the market's moving, and also look at what industries are moving. So is there a pattern like all the biotechs are moving or something like that? So yeah, that's kind of the scanner. It's basically just seeing if there's any potential plays on the day or picking out stocks to go on my watch list. Yeah, I do also have one final third scan, which is called a sympathy scan, which came up recently. This isn't something I would use all the time, and I've only ever used it once actually, because this is quite new to me. But I did speak about it on one of my other videos where there was a sympathy play in action. Basically where you've got one big runner and that can set off other stocks that fit a similar criteria. So this is basically, for example, the stock that moved, that was moving was, it came from under $1. And then it moved significantly. So I was setting up the scan to look for any stocks that are also under $1 and that they're moving over 5% over a period of 5 minutes. So really kind of trying to catch a very quick potential move that might pop up on the scan. And then you can kind of just have a look at them and see if they are moving in sympathy or not. But again, this is something that I wouldn't use unless there was a sympathy play in action, and also I'm just learning it, so this is something that I've only used once, and yeah, kind of new to me, but it's still good to have. And I think that's the gist of it. Obviously, this is going to all need a bit of tweaking along the way, but this is the general idea of what I'm using. And just to emphasise as well that it is quite overwhelming looking at a scan as a beginner. There's a lot of information on there, and it's a bit like, what am I actually looking at? What do I do with this? How do I know which ones are potential trades, which ones are going on my watch list? So, and obviously I can't go through every single one of these either, or maybe I could, but you know, I'm just sort of going through a good chunk of them and trying to assess what I can do with them, if anything. So yeah, I'm sure I'll get the hang of it as time goes on, but yeah, it is definitely quite a lot of information to digest. So that's my scan. As I said, pretty simple. I'm still learning and playing around with it, but for the time being, that's what I'm working with. So thank you for tuning in, and see you next week.